Okay, Lee's clock went, it's official.
I tried to mute that.
Hey, it's 4:01. I'll call the meeting to order. Mary, would you read your
Yep.
Open meeting?
Good afternoon. This open meeting of the Town Area Plan Work Group, a subcommittee of the Nantucket Planning and Economic Development Commission, is convening by video conference pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023. The supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. This meeting is being recorded. Please be aware that other people may be able to see you and take care not to share a device's screen. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. We do have a new script, so I'm just going to read through that. So ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment if any is offered. For public participation, we are using Zoom meeting, which allows the public to participate in the meeting as an attendee. The chair can request that members of the public provide their names for the purposes of keeping accurate minutes of the meeting. Attendees must register to participate. The registration link is included in the agenda, which is available on the town's website. Attendees will join in listening mode. They can click the raise hand button to indicate they wish to speak. For items with public comment, after members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment to those members of the public that have joined the meeting via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to speak must state their names and be acknowledged by and speak through the chair. The chair will call on those who have raised their hands in the order they were raised. All questions should be directed through the chair. So that was revised language. I just wanted to read that at least once into our records. Henry, back to you for a roll call.
Okay, thank you, Mary. All right, establishment of a quorum. I'm here. Mary.
Here.
Lee.
Here,
Allison.
Here.
Who we got? Mary Ann.
Here.
Marcia.
Here.
Okay. And Reagan emailed me. She would not be able to attend. Okay. Approval of the agenda. Any changes?
I move to approve the agenda. Mary Ann.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Is there a second?
Second, Mary.
Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Take that as a no. Motion passes. Okay, approval of the draft minutes from April 21st. Any omissions, changes? Take that as a no. Motion to approve?
I move to approve. Mary Ann.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Second?
Second, Marcia.
Marcia, second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Just as a point of order, Mr. Chair, the fact that I wrote these and submitted them could be considered to be the motion. But I've never said as much because I always thought that it might be a good idea for somebody else to do that.
Thank you, Lee. Okay, I got with Nathan again. And if I can find out where I put that little map. We've got, here we go. We've got some additions from the last one, including bike paths. The only question I had is there's an open space, which is by the Mill Hill. Gotta find my notes. Here we go. There's a little triangular section there between 19 and 10, which we did not identify. We can just put that down as, I believe it's 39 Prospect.
So I should be sharing that map now,
Yep, you are. Thank you.
and Lee will make sure we get that attached to the minutes.
Mary, can you move your cursor over to the piece in question? I
Henry,
think I see it. It's just above the number 17.
Right.
so this right here.
Yep, that little open space.
Now it's between number 10, 17, and 19. Is that the one?
That's the one.
Okay. I'll do some research.
Yeah, it's owned by the town. We just never discussed it.
Oh, okay.
When I talked to you, Lee, the 17s are Dead Horse Valley, which is a whole different discussion. No place on our maps is that noted.
Yeah.
If you Google it, it comes up as Mill Hill.
I bet it's part of number 10. Because it's on the other side of North Mill Street,
Right. It's got a different listing on it.
South Mill Street. Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah, I'll just add it as an open space. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. And that'll become number 20. Okay. Did you have a chance to look at the map? Any changes you'd like to see?
What did we decide about the Hadwin House Garden?
Hadwin House Garden.
Behind the mansion on Pleasant Street.
I don't know.
Mary, I don't think we came to any kind of a resolution. We did talk about it, but several people were concerned. It is controlled by the Historical Association, not by the town. It's a little bit like saying the large garden that belongs to the Whitneys on Pleasant Street is open space.
Well, that's not open to the public, Lee.
Yeah, I know. I'm stretching that one a little bit.
Well, I'm asking because we have the oldest house grounds listed as number 11. And that's owned by the NHA.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
Which one is that?
Number 11, the
the
oldest,
oldest house.
that,
Oh, the
Mhm.
oldest house feels very welcoming to the general public, but I mentioned this the last time. I feel very unwelcome in the garden of the Hadwin House.
But would
There's-
it
There's a gate
differ?
for one thing.
But Marianne, maybe that would differ if you knew that they had agreed, that we contact them on any of these questionable NHA spaces and ask them the same as with the museum on York Street. I mean, if we're told that, yes, they'd like it on the map to be included.
Well,
I think
I would
I-
think that
okay.
a nice little sign on the gate, very subtle, saying open to the public would answer that question, but
I think there is a sign on the gate saying the garden hours are X to X.
the garden is what?
If the garden is open from, I don't know what the hours are, X to
Oh,
Y.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I've missed that. I'll have to walk by there.
And I could also be wrong, but I think Marcia's point is well taken. We should simply ask, whether or not they would want to be included on a list of open space or space. This second point, but let me get back to that. Space is open to the public, because then we know. I mean, we don't want to put them in if they're not happy about it. We should just ask them.
I totally agree.
But Henry, that was another thought that I had, is that we've sort of mingled the terms open space, green space, and public space. And I think those are sort of different. So,
I would agree.
open space to me is space that is undeveloped. So I would not call the grounds of the Hadwin House or the grounds of the oldest house open space. I might call them green space as they're, they're landscaped. And I would definitely call them public space because the public is welcome on those grounds, assuming the organization says so. So I don't know if we want to distinguish different kinds of space. I have a little bit of a hesitation to use the word open space to describe all of these different kinds of spaces.
Right. According to the master plan outline, open space and recreation element which provides an inventory of recreational and resources and open space areas of the municipality, and policies and strategies for the management and protection of such resources and areas.
That's interesting. So that points to only spaces that are maintained by the municipality, not spaces that are privately owned.
Yeah, I agree.
So that would knock a bunch of things off this map.
I also agree.
So, on that question, do we look to some of the other area plans? See what they've done with similar situations?
I think we should follow the directive.
If we wanted to, we could make the NHA and other privately owned in a different color and put a keyword, put a legend underneath that says that.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about some of the properties being owned by the land bank and they're quasi-municipal. So which area do they land in? But I think it might be solved by saying there is open space that the municipality owns and maintains. And there is green space or public space that is available in a recreational aspect. You know, so not under the open space category, but available under the recreation category.
So
It becomes even more complicated, Mary, because the town wants to swap its land with the Conservation Foundation or the land bank.
Well, you know, I understand the directive that Henry just read, but I'm backing off to think about the intent of what we're working on. I mean, I understand the intent to describe this area with these particular bounds and what are the resources, what do we have here? And some are going to be municipal and some apparently, as we're working, are not. So I agree with just putting color coding of a legend so that we don't overstep, and that's clearly understood. But it definitely fills out the description of our area.
Well, in the written description, I'm going to list the ownership, town of Nantucket. Wherever I put it, it's someplace safe. But maybe we could do that.
Sorry, Henry, you're going to expand the legend to include ownership?
Well, there's the legend, but yes. Lily Pond, 8 Wesco Place, Nantucket Land Bank. Coffin Park, 50 Center Street, Nantucket Island Resorts. So I think if we list it, maybe that would help.
Did you say Nantucket Island Resort?
Yes. Yes,
They don't own Coffin Park.
they own the Jared Coffin House Park.
Oh, Jared Coffin, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Apologize.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But I think by listing ownership, it may help.
Yeah. Henry, I like what you're suggesting because I think we should be inclusive. These are all spaces that are available to the public. And we're trying to suggest that our master plan is helpful to the public.
I'm sure things are going to get missed. You know, we'll try not to, but whoever does this in 5 years, you know, it's going to change. So we'll just do the best we can.
Yeah.
And also point out, we're responsible for producing a draft, which will then go to NP and EDC, and we'll have the opportunity for public comment. So we want to do the best we can, but if some of these issues need a wider audience, that audience will be available.
Yeah, good point. And MPEDC may choose to homogenize the definition of open space among the 4 or 5 plans that they're working on.
So could you tell me, I'm looking at the map in the area of number 16 and number 6. And it seems to enclose a space that is not included. And I just wondered, I thought that was all land bank, but I'm just wondering what about number 6 and 16?
So down in this area.
Six is Goose Pond, Consu Springs, and 16 is a pocket park.
Oh, I think, do I?
Oh, that's the one that was created on the corner. And
Is it?
So that's across 16.
no, I'm confusing it with Francis Street. Sorry.
Yeah. 16 is across from Cumberland Farms. So that might be Nantucket Conservation Foundation land in there. I'm not sure.
Oh.
16 I had as land bank.
No, but the square that
Oh,
this I can't. It won't let me highlight very easily.
no, we're better off going to the GIS, I think.
Yeah, let me do that.
I mean, I thought it was the area that had the picnic bench and it has a barn-like structure that's always closed. It doesn't look like anybody ever walks in or out of it. But
Oh,
That's equipment
that's
storage.
right, that's Conservation Foundation.
Yeah.
it's not land bank. I thought it was land bank, but I guess not.
Well, whoever's opening up the GIS will let us know very quickly.
Yeah, just give me a minute.
I remember talking to Alan Reinhardt, who's got his feet in both camps. He's a ranger for the Conservation Foundation and a member of the board. Okay, here we go.
Okay, it is land bank according to the GIS. I'm bringing it up. So that little square that's not colored green on the map that Nathan produced is still a land bank property.
Okay,
It has that little barn on it for equipment storage.
I mean, that's another space that doesn't look terribly inviting. You know, it's hard to find how to get into it. I've never seen a person or any activity on it, but it is a big piece of land with a picnic table.
And a lovely bed of daffodils.
Maybe we need a daffodil map.
Yes, yes. That's a good thing. So I have another question. Did you say earlier, Henry, that you had added bike paths?
yes,
Map?
they're
So,
the blue lines on the map that I sent you.
so I am wondering about, oh, some special sort of, what do you call them? Do you know where you can walk down a path so it's an easement or it's a right of way? You know, there are a number of them that are out of our area that go off of Hulbert Avenue onto the beach.
Those are right of ways, yeah.
Right of ways, right? And so I wonder, will you put the map back up, Mary?
Yeah, I'm working on it. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, thanks. You know, I'm wondering about a couple of the favorite ones that I love to walk on, like Cobblestone, the one that's that runs from Orange up to, from Union up to Orange.
Marsha, that's Stone Alley.
Yes, Stone Alley.
And if nobody calls the article, it will have a town-owned easement on it. Right now, it's a private way.
Wow.
It's
But it has been right along.
Ginger Andrews' big push to get that open.
Well, that's good news. So it's true what Henry says, things are changing by the minute.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so that would be, I'm trying to think of any others that are similar to that, but I think they might be out of our area. I know there's some up off of, oh, let's see this street. Anyway, maybe that's the only one.
Yeah, interestingly, Stone Alley shows as being in our area up to a point. The line
Oh.
goes right through the middle of it.
Oh, interesting.
That's okay. I'll get this in the minutes because it's a very valid question. And before we're done, we may ask the town to include that as open space.
Yeah.
Something tells me we'll be working on this after town meeting, so we should have a decision.
Although Marcia, as an easement allowing public access, it then becomes a way like the several dozens of ways that are in our area. I don't know whether we need to identify it as open space.
Yeah, again, I have difficulty envisioning that as open space. It's completely built.
Well, it sort of to me was like the bike path.
Yeah, so it's public space, or it's a, you know, public way. But
And it's,
I don't want to use the word term open space to identify it.
I mean, because at least on a map, if it gets even labeled, just that we're identifying resources, right? There's another one, you know, that goes up from Lily Street up to the back of Academy Hill.
Oh, yes.
That one's another nice one to know about, to walk on.
It's a walking path.
Yeah, I don't know who owns it.
Good question.
Well, let me switch back and see what I can find. I'll just say, I've been walking on that for over 50 years. So
Yeah.
I went to school at Academy Hill.
Oh, I didn't know that. Whoa.
So Henry, while we're waiting, I think it's reasonably clear that that square that's land bank should be included on the map for your next revision.
I've got it on my notes.
Okay,
That'll be number 20.
So it appears, and if I remember correctly, is that called Snake Alley, between Lily Street and Academy Hill, that is a public way. It is not a private property.
Hmm. Oh, I never knew the name of it. Snake Alley.
I'm don't quote me on that. I'm going to look that up and see if I can verify. Have to go to the authority that is Google.
which is frequently wrong.
Yes, but if it's there, then I'll feel better. If it's not there, that won't tell me anything. Snake Alley, there it is.
Yeah, way. Good.
Okay.
Mary's been taking her Prevagen.
I beg your pardon, Lee?
It's an awful ad for a memory enhancement over-the-counter drug called Prevagen.
I'm not sure if it's a good sign or a bad sign that I haven't heard of it. Maybe I have heard of it and I've forgotten.
No, it suggests that
forgotten.
you are culturally, how should I say, on the good side, because you're not watching cheap television.
I don't actually watch television at all. So
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, any other comments on this?
Yeah.
I'd like to discuss timelines for everybody's report. Originally, we thought we could have a submission to Plus by Memorial Day, so that gives us one more meeting. I will divulge that when I gave my report to Plus, I just said summer. So,
Yeah.
and I didn't say what year, but hopefully we can get something going.
Yes.
Mary Ann, any thoughts on land use?
Well, if you'd like me to make a report at the next meeting, that would give me the incentive to get my head around it again. It's been such a long time.
I know.
But I need that kind of fire lit under me, so,
Okay,
yeah,
you're
can I
first up.
report at the next meeting?
Yeah, you'll be the first one.
Okay,
Okay, I'll promise to be the second one with Mickey on housing. And then I've got something with cultural something. I forget that I had with Liz. Natural resources, no.
Okay.
That's-
Economic development,
No,
Allison and Mary. How
no,
about you?
let's see.
Allison and Mary, any thoughts on economic development?
I mean, I think we have a draft. I don't know that we have a very good draft. Is that a fair statement, Mary?
it's anywhere to start is fine.
Okay. Yes.
I agree.
I have been involved in town meeting prep, so I have no brain cells for anything else until a couple of days after town meeting.
Okay, so we've got, well, if Mary Ann and Marcia are next meeting, that should pretty well fill it up, I would think. So maybe the meeting after?
We can shoot for that.
Okay,
That would be, so the next meeting would be May 19th, the third Friday, and then the following meeting would be June 6th.
okay,
And if we
thank
have,
you.
if we have a draft, we just email that separately, individually to Henry
Yes.
for that meeting, just so that it might have time to review.
Okay. And
Yeah, for open meeting purposes, Henry, if you send the drafts out with the agenda. Mary, does that make sense?
Yes, I was going to add something about that. Thank you, Lee, that, materials that we are using in the meeting should be included as a packet for the meeting and published on the town's website prior to the meeting with the agenda.
okay. Where are we? Allison and Mary. Marcia, are you
if
going to
Mar-
be able to have something for natural and cultural resources on the 6th?
Yes,
Okay,
So if Marcia and Mary Ann are covering 3 topics on the 6th, then Allison and I, and perhaps Lee and I can cover the 2 topics that we have, the business and the traffic on the, excuse me, not on the 6th.
excuse me, May
Marcia
19th.
and Mary Ann on the 19th, and and the 6th would be Lee and I on traffic and Allison and I on economic development.
Makes sense.
so could somebody who has already worked with this survey comments share whatever insight about how it has been to extract the information, to integrate it into whatever draft you had before? I know last meeting, we spoke about not to get into like more of the quality of the comment rather than how many people commented in a similar way. But just any ideas about how, you're using that information from the survey into the report. I guess that's primarily Henry, right?
Say that again, Marcia?
I mean, for this, all the work that you've been doing on the last couple of meetings for open space, were you also considering the survey comments when you were working on that, or is that yet to come?
I didn't really consider it.
Okay.
Well, I can tell you that Mary and I looked at the comments and talked about that even though the response rate is significant pursuant to what a statistician would think is actually significant, I mean, we did get a good response. Going through the answers and sort of highlighting the theme, that so if 7 people who responded mentioned something about parking, then I put parking on my list. But if one person mentioned better street lamps, I also put that on my list. But do you remember Mary's word cloud, where she had the bigger ones, where the bigger words in the jumble of words, where someone had repeated that word, so it was used more than once as an answer. So I tried to do that with my work on that today. It came out of a hot mess, but I do think the idea is, if we shouldn't say 6 people said parking was an issue, but we can say parking was mentioned several times or something to that effect. And also, looking at it from a qualitative, not just quantitative point of view, in terms of, do we think that the answers that were given are responsive to sort of what we're thinking about? And then from that, what would our recommendations be? I think that's a fair assessment of what we talked about, Mary.
Yeah, so here's a demonstration of a word cloud. It just gives you a sort of a visual of what words people repeated. What Allison and I found was that there are a lot of words that got repeated, but in different ways. So if you look at this word cloud, you see park, dog park, park somewhere else, park in another spot, park with an S on the end. So the data needs a little cleaning up before you can really get that indication of what the themes are. And that's something that I found a tool for that, and maybe after it's manual cleanup. It's taking the spreadsheet with a list of comments and doing some editing, and then you paste that into a tool that produces a word cloud like this, and that helps you visualize what the most important topics are, or the most frequently mentioned, I should say. But I would also use a little bit of judgment. So we see bowling alley there a lot. And okay, so that's worth noting, but there isn't a suitable place to put a bowling alley in our area. So we might note that in passing that was a popular recreation, but that doesn't mean it's a recommendation of the plan that we create a bowling alley. So use some judgment as you're looking at the responses to decide what you think is appropriate to highlight in the plan. The survey results in their raw form will be made available too. So we're not, we're not silencing anybody by choosing what we think are the most interesting points in the survey results.
Mary, 2 points, a minor one and then a little bigger one. The minor one is that a bowling alley was proposed in an application to go alongside Dave Street, very close to the Chicken Box. That got turned down because they hadn't thought about parking and a bunch of other things. But there is interest in a bowling alley, and I think your point that we may allude to it and say that it would go very well as an adjunct to our area somewhere in Mid-Island. And just for your historical purposes, the sweet shop that became the restaurant or the Whale was built as a bowling alley. It was right there on Main Street. Now, my bigger point is I went through every one of those Excel spreadsheets and plucked out what I thought were good comments, and then said very categorically, these are not statistically valid, but you might be interested in what people say. And I gave a line number so that if you wanted to go back to the Excel spreadsheet and get the whole quote. I was careful not to be repetitive because I was interested in ideas rather than quantity.
Yeah, and that's a good, I mean, maybe there's only one person who had a great idea. Doesn't mean it's not a great idea. you know?
Right. So so you had special software. You can't really share with us how we can create.
I can send you the link to the tool, but yes, you're kind of on your own on that. The software came with the survey software. So this particular image that you're seeing was produced by the survey software. And so I can't do anything inside the survey because I would have to actually remove people's responses to change it. So I can't do anything. So this is an example, not a.
Yeah.
There are some free websites, Marcia, that you can use if you just Google free word cloud.
Okay.
That's 3 words. The first one I saw looked kind of interesting, but because I was working with 15 responses, I like things to talk to each other, but you actually have to put them in to make it work.
Yeah.
And it was asking for how is it weighted? I'm like, I don't care how it's weighted. I just want to know how many times it shows up. So it might, like the first one I looked at might be too complicated, but then Marian sent me a link to Google. If you're in Google Docs, you can do an add-on that's free that does a word cloud from the Google Doc, but I couldn't figure that out before today's meeting. So there's some options. I can send you what Mary sent me.
Yeah, that's
with the
great.
Google.
Really interesting. I just noticed in that one you showed, Mary, pickleball comes up a lot. I'll have to confess, I ventured out to find pickleball last week. And I played pickleball. It was not easy to find, but I did. It was awesome.
It's a very popular new thing.
Right. Well, it's kind of a secret, because you just can't Google pickleball. I did find them. But anyway, it would be really nice to walk downtown somewhere and find pickleball. Yeah.
To me, it always, that sounds more like a fast casual restaurant, like bubble tea, pickleball.
That's right. Yes. That's
Well,
good.
it's very popular on Nantucket. We do have pickleball courts, but they're not in our area. And I venture to say that I think I know where they are, but I want to be careful because I'm not sure. But I did read an article that says that people are hurting themselves playing pickleball more than they expect to, ankles and stuff.
Well, I'm telling you, Lee, I went last week. I played. I
You
found
did good. Well, where is it, Marcia?
you go out to the airport and instead of taking a right, you take a left on Macy's Lane and you dead end right into the courts.
Oh, okay. That's getting up close to various playing fields.
Yes, backs right into them. So, but you have to connect with somebody, there's never a name out there, but there is an association.
Right. I found that during when we moved up to the island for 2020, because I have a teenager and I was like, I need him to be moving around, not in my house. And I signed up and it was not expensive. It was reasonable and lovely people, but we never got our act together to do it. But it's a great sport because everyone can play, which leads to the injuries because you sort of forget it.
Yes.
But you really can hit the ball really nicely over the net without having to have a real tennis arm. So it's I played it as a kid out in the Pacific Northwest.
I did. Wow.
In my summer camp, they had it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it cost me $10 because you can't be a member anymore.
Oh,
And
okay.
they let me have a racket and the ball. And if you go out there during free play, there were lots of people and they kept just coordinating 4 people on. So I played about 4 or 5 games with different people that came and went, but they kept keeping a group of 4 playing a game. $10 on free play on Friday, 9 to 11. So come on, Lee.
That's okay. eye-hand coordination is not one of my strengths.
Wow.
Okay, anything else? I take that as a no.
Yeah.
And I've got 4:41. Have I forgotten anything? I don't think so. Okay, works for me. Motion to adjourn,
Motion.
Marcia.
I'll
Second,
Mary.
Mary. Okay, we're out of here. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you all. I'll try and
Bye.
get this out in a day or two.
Bye.
Okay, thank you, Lee.